We continue tonight's hour-long special into arrests and scandals surrounding sexual relationships between female teachers and students. One question is whether there is a sentencing bias based on the gender of teachers who had a sexual relationship with their underage students. Are female teachers more likely to escape harsh penalties than their male counterparts? And if so, is that necessarily a bad thing? It appears there hasn't been a national study recently, but a 2013 analysis from New Jersey's Star Ledger looked into 97 cases in that state in response to the high-profile case of Erica DiPaolo, a high school teacher in West Orange, New Jersey, who was not sentenced to any prison time, but instead to lifetime parole supervision for a sexual relationship she had with a 15-year-old student. All the cases the paper analyzed were between 2003 and 2013, and they found that female teachers did tend to get lighter sentences than the men. They reported that male defendants went to prison in 54% of cases, compared to 44% of cases for female defendants. Men averaged 2.4 years in prison, compared with 1.6 years in prison for women. Another important fact here, 93 of the 97 cases ended in plea deals. But if you look across the country, there are plenty of examples where female teachers face harsh punishments. Just look at Grand Rapids, Michigan, where in 2014, Abigail Marie Simon, a tutor and academic advisor at a Catholic school, was convicted and sentenced to spend between 8 and 25 years behind bars for having sex with a 15-year-old at the school. There's also the case of Stacy Schuler, 2011. The Ohio gym teacher sentenced to 4 years behind bars for having sex with 5 male students, multiple of them on the school's football team. And back in New Jersey is the case of Lauren Coyle Mitchell, the Jersey City second-grade teacher who was sentenced to spend 5 years behind bars in 2015 for having an affair with a female student. So look, do I think it's okay that the men seem to be getting longer sentences? On the whole, yes, I'm okay with it. I think most all of these cases are bad. And as I said before, I think they should all be prosecuted. But I am okay with the sentences generally being tougher for the men. Said it earlier, the male teachers are the vast majority of those committing these crimes. There is a deterrent effect. It also seems that often the male teachers are more predatory than the female teachers, who often seem more troubled and claim that they were the victims. The social stigma remains different for the boys and girls. Again, talking about 16 or 17 or 18, not 12, 13, etc. Whether that should or shouldn't be the case is a separate discussion. But joining me now is Billie Jo Grant, the COO of McGrath Training Solutions. She's a nationally recognized expert in school employee sexual misconduct prevention. She has some more data. Thanks so much for coming on the show. Appreciate it. All right, tell us what other numbers that you have on this issue of whether women teachers tend to get less harsh sentences than the men.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. We do have some data. It's from the year 2014, and as you mentioned previously, it's really difficult to find data on this issue. And the best that we're able to do is track Google alerts for teachers arrested. And so what we did is in 2014, there were 361 arrests for teachers that had sexual misconduct with students. And we charted the offender characteristics, the victim characteristics, the school characteristics, and characteristics about the crime. And we did find overall that females in our database received smaller sentences and fewer months probation than males. However, do want to point out that not all sexual misconduct cases in this database are the same, and that they vary a lot with their severity.
Yep, absolutely. And you know, it is hard to make the comparisons because, as I was talking about with a guest earlier in the show, a lot of the female cases tend to involve students who are close to their age. And a lot of the male cases involve much greater disparity, et cetera. But let me ask you, you know, do you have a thought on whether you think it's fair, it's okay that women in a lot of these cases get lighter sentences?
Well, to go to the data, I will say that the females that we just showed having smaller sentences, we do find that the males target younger victims, which is a more egregious behavior than females targeting older victims. We do find that males have multiple victims, or females may tend to target just one or fewer victims. Males are going to have a larger age gap between them. Again, a more egregious behavior. The cases involving males are going to usually involve pornography in almost 100% of the incidences. They're more likely to have prior allegations, and they're more likely to have been arrested previously for other types of crimes. So you could see how with the male sentencing, if it's a more egregious behavior, they've got priors, you're going to have a larger sentence that's going to be involved with those individuals than with females.
That's very important to highlight. What do you make of the fact that a lot of the women involved, I shouldn't say a lot, but a good number of the women involved portray themselves as the victims? We don't hear that much with the men, but the women saying 17-year-old, 18-year-old, whatever the case may be, initiated the sex and they didn't fight it off, so to speak.
Yeah, and in our society, we definitely have a power differential between students that are mandatory to go to school and teachers. So we have that power differential, but we also have a power differential between men and women. And so men typically are in a power role, regardless if it's in a school setting or organizational setting or in a relationship. Men have traditionally been in a power role. And so that's going to come into play here, even though in this scenario, a female is in the power role as the teacher.
Are there more of these cases happening now, or is it sort of more of a media fiction? Or are these women being prosecuted more in a way that maybe they weren't 10 years ago, 15 years ago?
The numbers still seem about the same, and that it's between 30 to 40%, depending on the database or what state or who's looking at data. But the numbers are around 30 to 40% female, and the 60 to 70% male, and it's stayed steady there. As far as Google alerts, we've been tracking those since 2014, and it's been pretty consistent between 400 to 600 cases a year since 2014 that are headline news. So for teachers arrested. And I do want to point out that those teachers arrested are only the ones that make the news, and many of these cases are handled internally and never get to the news headlines.
And look, and I think that there is definitely a bias towards the physical attributes of someone. I think that when there is a particularly attractive woman, the news media tends to cover it more. I think there is more interest. I think it leads to more discussion and debate, more jokes on the part of people who are having these discussions. And I think that's part of the quote-unquote bias of the media is towards, because it wouldn't happen with the men, right? With the men, it wouldn't matter what they look like. It would be immediately, characterized as a predator, a pervert, whatever the case may be. But with the women, sometimes there is the pictures of the women and how they look and et cetera, which does end up factoring into how the media covers this.
Yeah, definitely. We see that in the Google alerts that the females will often be portrayed in a bathing suit, or they're portrayed, you just showed a cheerleader outfit. They're portrayed in a very provocative way, where the males are shown typically with a mugshot or not in a way that's sexualized. So oftentimes the female cases, even though there are fewer, they are sensationalized.
Yep. All right. Billy Joe Grant, thank you very much for taking the time. This is it's an important conversation. I understand that it can be controversial. People can, either take it too seriously, not seriously enough. And I appreciate the way that you focus on the data on this and appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for covering the story.
Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.